Why are some countries developed like Germany, France, Belgium and Switzerland, and other countries like the DRC, Somalia, Madagascar and Uganda underdeveloped? The short answer to this question is inequality. But this inequality is not created due to unequal resource distribution, as countries deficit in resources like Japan and South Korea are developed. Meanwhile, countries rich in resources like Venezuela are underdeveloped. The Industrial Revolution played a key role in the economy, as countries which adapted the revolution saw their economies grow exponentially, like Britain, Belgium, France, Germany, and the US. An example for a nation which did not adopt the Industrial Revolution early in time was the Russian Empire. You could see how Russia's GDP shot up after the 1920s. This exponential growth is because Russia started taking industrialization seriously under the rule of Joseph Stalin in the USSR. Industrialization is a key factor in the economy and most countries have used it to get developed, but sometimes it's not enough. A good example of a country where industrialization alone has not been enough to sustain economic growth is Nigeria. Despite being one of Africa's largest economies, Nigeria has struggled with issues that hinder the full benefits of industrialization. The main reason Nigeria has been struggling to obtain the benefits of industrialization are that most of Nigeria's industrial sector is focused on oil and has not diversified into other sectors like manufacturing and technology. Along with that, poor infrastructure like unreliable electricity and inadequate transportation has plagued the industry as well. The economic growth in Nigeria is not inclusive as well because the elites get most of the benefits in the industrial sector. If the above problems are tackled, a country would start to experience the benefits of the industry. Another factor which hinders the capability of a nation's economy to grow is being landlocked, like Ethiopia. Being landlocked means not having open access to the global oceans. In this definition, countries like Kazakhstan are also classified as landlocked, even though Kazakhstan has a coastline on the Caspian Sea. Being landlocked means having trade by ship is very hard. Landlocked countries must rely on other countries to lend access to their port for export. Let's take Ethiopia as the example. Being the world's largest landlocked country in terms of population, it has to rely on the port of Doraleh in Djibouti for its access to the global oceans. More than 90% of Ethiopia's exports pass through Djibouti. Djibouti demands a fee of 1.5 to 1.6 billion USD annually for the service. Some of you may be wondering, why don't countries like Ethiopia export via air? The answer to that query is that export by air is simply too expensive. But developing an economy is not as simple as building up an industry. Sure, it may help the economy to grow at first, but over time it is not sufficient. Developed economies have transitioned from agriculture to manufacturing and now to service-based economies. As economies grow, they experience a shift in focus towards sectors that generate higher value adding activities, which are in services like finance, healthcare, education, and technology. Underdeveloped countries are lagging further and further behind, and it seems almost impossible for a presently underdeveloped country to develop. There is still hope for most of these countries, but some just don't seem to go in a positive trajectory, but instead remain the same for decades on end. Some countries in the past have managed to prove us wrong, like Singapore and China, and these countries were labeled underdeveloped by the world in the 50s and 60s. You may now ask, why did some countries get a head start and develop more quickly than others? One factor, as I already mentioned, is the Industrial Revolution. There are several other factors which I am going to mention now. Firstly, countries with fertile land, navigable rivers and abundant natural resources had early agricultural and trade advantages. For example, Europe's temperate climate and resources allowed for the development of stable societies and early industrialization. Coastal access facilitated trade and exploration. Nations like the UK, Portugal, and the Netherlands could expand their influence through maritime trade and colonialization. Which leads us to our second point, colonialism. Some countries amassed immense wealth by exploiting colonies. Through colonization, they controlled global trade routes, extracted resources, and established markets for their goods. For instance, Britain, Spain, and France benefited enormously from their colonial empires. Thirdly, stable political systems, enforceable property rights, and well-functioning institutions encouraged investment and economic growth. Early democracies like Britain and the US often created environments conducive to innovation and entrepreneurship. Conversely, countries with weak or extractive institutions often fall behind. Fourthly, early access to trade networks such as the Silk Road or Atlantic trade routes allowed certain regions to accumulate wealth and resources. Fifthly, early investments in education, science, and infrastructure fostered technological innovation and industrial growth. For example, Enlightenment ideas in Europe laid the groundwork for modern economic systems. These are the main reasons why some countries developed quickly and have huge economies and other countries lag behind. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a comment down below sharing your feedback. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. World at Last signing off.